For more than half a century, one ancient body pulled from a cold European bog was believed to be a human sacrifice, the victim of a brutal Iron Age ritual. Its perfectly preserved skin, hair, and expression told a chilling story. But everything archaeologists believed was wrong. Tonight, we uncover how one discovery shattered 54 years of scientific certainty and changed the story of the ancient world forever. For millennia, the peat bogs of northern Europe have held secrets, swallowing history and preserving it in their cold, acidic embrace. But in the 1950s, a bog in Denmark gave up one of its most enigmatic treasures. What emerged from the dark, waterlogged earth would captivate scientists and the public for generations, creating a legend that turned out to be a lie. When peat cutters first uncovered the body, they were stunned. This wasn't just a skeleton. Before them lay a man, almost perfectly intact, his face frozen in a serene, thoughtful expression. He still had wrinkles around his eyes, fingerprints on his hands, and even the stubble of his last shave on his chin. The unique chemistry of the bog water, low in oxygen and rich in tannins, had tanned his skin and preserved him so perfectly that he looked as if he had only just fallen asleep. Researchers, working with the tools and knowledge of their time, rushed to a conclusion. Seeing the dark, leathery skin and the ancient setting, they declared him a sacrificial victim, a casualty of a violent, long-forgotten religion. For decades, this dramatic story was accepted as fact, a window into a savage past. But the truth was far more complicated, buried deeper than the body itself. The key piece of evidence for the ritual theory was a plated leather cord found wrapped around the man's neck. To the early archaeologists, this was the smoking gun, the ultimate proof of a ritual execution. They looked to ancient Roman texts that described the Celts and other Iron Age peoples of the region as performing triple killings to appease their gods. These brutal ceremonies supposedly involved strangling, stabbing, and drowning victims in a single, horrifying act to honor deities of the earth, sky, and underworld. This bog body, with the rope around his neck, seemed to fit the narrative perfectly. It was a vivid, gruesome tale that captured the imagination. Textbooks were written, museum exhibits were designed, and generations of students learned about the man's sacrifice to the bog. For over 50 years, this explanation was repeated so often that it became an undisputed truth. The story was compelling, but it was built on a foundation of assumption, not solid proof. And it was about to be completely dismantled. As the 21st century dawned, so did a new era of scientific investigation. The bog body, resting in a museum, was revisited by a new generation of scientists armed with technology their predecessors could only dream of. Using advanced, non-invasive imaging techniques, they were able to look inside the body without ever making an incision. The first bombshell dropped when they re-examined the rope around his neck. Detailed scans revealed it wasn't a noose designed for strangulation at all. The wear patterns and its position suggested it was actually part of a belt or a waistband that had slipped upwards after death, a common occurrence as a body shifts in water. Then came the CT scans, which provided a three-dimensional view of his entire skeleton. They found no broken neck vertebrae, no damage to the larynx, and no other signs consistent with strangulation. There were no stab wounds, no broken bones from a struggle, no evidence whatsoever of a violent death. The foundation of the sacrificial theory was crumbling. The man in the bog was starting to look less like a victim of ritual and more like the subject of a modern myth. The investigation didn't stop there. Scientists turned to the man's final moments, using modern isotope analysis to decode the secrets hidden in his digestive tract. Archaeologists of the 1950s had theorized his last meal was a special, ritualistic gruel. But the new analysis painted a much more mundane picture. He had eaten a simple porridge of grains and seeds, with faint traces of fish. It was a typical, everyday meal for someone living in Iron Age Denmark, not a ceremonial feast fit for a sacrifice. Then came the DNA analysis, a tool that was pure science fiction when the body was first discovered. The results were conclusive. He was a foreigner captured in a raid and offered to foreign gods. His genetic profile showed he was a local man, born and raised in the very region where he died. He had lived a normal life among his own people. So, if he wasn't a ritual sacrifice, if he hadn't been murdered at all, what happened to him? The mystery had deepened, and the answer would be both simpler and more profound than anyone had imagined. After dismantling decades of assumptions piece by piece, the new evidence pointed toward a surprising, yet logical, explanation. The man had likely fallen into the bog by accident. Perhaps he was crossing it at night and lost his way, or maybe the ground gave way during a thaw in the winter. Iron Age bogs were treacherous, marshy landscapes full of deep, hidden pools of water concealed by vegetation. A single misstep could be fatal. Once he fell into the cold, oxygen-poor water, he would have succumbed to hypothermia or drowning quickly. The bog, which had been his accidental tomb, then became his preserver. Its unique chemical properties halted the natural process of decay, mummifying his body over more than 2 millennia. His death was a personal tragedy, an unfortunate accident, but it was ordinary. It was the science of archaeology, fueled by imagination and the desire for a dramatic story, that had turned him into something extraordinary. The brutal Iron Age ritual was a fiction created in the 20th century. This groundbreaking re-examination sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. It forced researchers to look back and rethink every bog body ever found. How many other so-called sacrifices were actually victims of accidents or natural deaths, their stories twisted by interpretation? How many historical narratives were built on exciting guesses rather than hard evidence? The case of this man became a pivotal turning point for archaeological science. It was a powerful and humbling reminder that even the most respected experts can be wrong, and that scientific certainty can sometimes be a collective illusion held for decades. It underscored a new imperative in the field: to constantly question, to retest old conclusions with new technology, and to separate what the evidence truly says from the stories we want it to tell. The bog had preserved a man, but his rediscovery helped preserve the integrity of a science. In the end, he wasn't a priest, a warrior, or an offering to the gods. He wasn't a symbol of a brutal past. He was a human being who lived, ate a simple meal, and, through a tragic accident, slipped into the earth one day and was held there by time. His true legacy isn't the gruesome story of sacrifice that captivated the world for 50 years. It's the lesson he taught us from across 1,000 years, a lesson in humility, in the power of curiosity, and in the critical importance of questioning what we think we know. Sometimes, the real mystery isn't hidden in the ground beneath our feet. It's in our own minds, in how easily and eagerly we create stories to explain the things we don't yet understand. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to like and subscribe for more journeys into the past.